due to countless, many rebirths and reincarnations, tossed amid waves of my delusions, forced out of habituation to live along many lifetimes of negative imprints. I've collected so much karma that will definitely bring about many, many obstacles. Whether I sit alone at home, hiding from the world, many obstacles will arise, or I go out into the world and do many activities, obstacles will arise. Obstacles will arise from the north, from the south, from the east, from the west, from up, from down, from the 10 directions. It will come consistently. It has come in the past, it is coming in the present, and more will come in the future. And the reason for obstacles to come in the form of disease, unhappiness, insecurity, depression, shortness of life, financial difficulties, disharmony, fear. It comes not from an outer force, not from an outer person, not from an outer situation, but it comes directly from my own creations of my mind. Therefore, I have been very fortunate to come across the Buddha's teachings, the historical Buddhas, the historical Buddha Shakyamuni, my refuge, my teacher, my guide, my example. Since I have the great fortune to come across the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, after so many lifetimes of wandering, and in this life alone of wandering, of distractions, of children, of marriage, of fun, of games, of entertainment, of sickness, of old age, all the things I've experienced in this lifetime that has brought me to where I am now, which is actually nowhere. May I not waste any more time on the trivial activities of this life, but engage in the study of Dharma, engage in the understanding of Dharma. When I understand, and only when I understand very well, engage in the meditation in order to subjugate my mind. Subjugate my mind from that of habituations that bring harm into habituations that bring benefit. During this spiritual journey, especially now during the modern material world, I encounter so many incredible obstacles. All these obstacles cannot be removed by any outer deity, as Lord Buddha has said. All these difficulties and sufferings that I encounter and setbacks, inner meaning mental, sickness, disease, outer meaning from an outside source, cannot be removed or taken away by anyone, deity or human. They can only be removed by the application and the practice of Dharma, being aware of cause and effect, and living my life according to the actions that dictate cause and effect. Therefore, in my spiritual journey, when I come across so many obstacles, and at times it makes me want to give up, which is illusory. Why? By giving up, I increase and I ask for and I invite even more problems and difficulties. It is like saying, I have a disease, I don't wish to go to the hospital. Even not wishing to listen to Dharma teachings, even wishing not to go near a Dharma teacher or listening to Dharma teachings or getting involved in Dharma, but saying that I prefer meditation at home, or I prefer practice at home, or I prefer practice, is also illusory. Why? When the Dharma teachers are around, we should get as much teachings as we can. Meditation is for when the teacher is not around. Why? Meditation can only have results if the knowledge is there. Therefore, even aspiring to meditation or getting teachings, many obstacles arise in my mind, inner obstacles. What kind of obstacles? Laziness, distractions, friends, entertainment, which thwarts me and pushes me away from learning the Dharma. All these obstacles rain down like the summer monsoon. Although they are created by me, although I am the author of them, the enlightened ones, the Mahapanditas, the Mahasiddhas, and the great monks and scholars of ancient India who has held Buddha's teachings in their heart in the great monasteries of Bodh Gaya and the great monasteries of Nalanda, had taught immaculate ways in order that we may have a friend on our spiritual journey. In our search to find Buddhahood, in our search to find the Buddha within us, they have taught special and incredible methods that were revealed to those who are ripened and those who are ready. Today I will listen to the teachings and the practice and the lineage of the great Dharma protector, etc. I will listen with the motivation that in order to alleviate obstacles for others and myself to increase the Dharma, inner increase and outer increase, I will listen with this type of attitude that I may be of tremendous benefit to others. My mind will be clear, my senses will be sharp, and I will focus my mind on what is going on to learn. I've entered a place of worship and learning and meditation, and I will engage in those actions while I'm here in listening, meditation, and learning. And when I leave this place, I will be enriched. Today, when I leave this place and I go home, I will be enriched, have more knowledge and more understanding, which will increase my actual meditation. And although sometimes the knowledge I acquire may not be applied to myself, if I listen with great compassion, I can share this knowledge with other people who might need this knowledge in the future. Knowledge was never wasted. From the side of the teacher must give knowledge and explain to the best of his abilities, irregardless of how he feels, irregardless of his health, irregardless of his mental state, irregardless of his preoccupation, irregardless of whether it is his favorite subject or not. The teacher from the side must teach free of the 8 worldly dharmas, without any attachment to name or fame, without any attachment to get any type of monetary or physical or materialistic compensation or reward. The teacher himself must have a motivation that in order to benefit others who have a sincere motivation to aspire to Dharma practice, he will open his mouth, he will shuffle his knowledge, he will do research, and he will explain to the best of his ability with the purest of motivations, irregardless of how his body feels during teachings, irregardless of his mental state, and irregardless of whether it's his favorite subject or not. With compassion and skill, with love and great motivation that will benefit the listener, the teacher should transmit the Dharma to the listeners. The listeners at the same time should appreciate the teacher's effort and the abode, the place, and listen carefully. Therefore, the teacher and student both have good motivation with a good heart. Then therefore, it becomes Dharma practice. Then therefore, listening to the Dharma teachings become Dharma practice, equivalent to doing meditation. Equivalent to doing meditation. For meditation is not the 1 hour we sit on our cushions. It is the 23 hours off of the cushions is our real meditation. Buddhism, as we all know, and surprisingly one or few people did know, originated from India. For some people who didn't know, Lord Buddha was Indian. And the place he was born, the place that he was raised, is a disputed area now that some people consider Nepal, some people consider India. But in the ancient text, we call it India. So during that time, it must have been a part of India. So anyway, that doesn't really matter. It's just borders made up by human beings. So what happens is, during Buddha's time, you have to understand, you're not dealing with an ordinary person. You're not dealing with an ordinary human being. You're dealing with a person whose body is of this world, but the mind is fully enlightened. Fully enlightened. And what an enlightened mind can comprehend, what an enlightened mind can perceive and understand is beyond anything that we can ever even remotely grasp onto. So we human beings should not hold on to our conventions and projections and rules and regulations of what an enlightened being can and cannot do due to our limited hearsay, due to our limited knowledge, and due to our limited learning. Some people feel, oh, I'm very learned, so if I don't know that, it doesn't exist. Some people feel, oh, I've never heard that before. And some people feel, oh, but in my mind, that's not very clear, so it could not exist. That would be very, very damaging to oneself. Why? That would go into the assumption that oneself has the highest knowledge. There's no one else with knowledge beyond that. So that would be very limiting to oneself. So what happens is we shouldn't think that the Buddha is very limited in what he can do, his body, his speech, and mind. The Buddha can appear in many places simultaneously and teach. The Buddha can appear in many guises to teach. The Buddha can teach many subjects simultaneously. Similarly, the Buddha can teach with one language, but it will penetrate and it will go to many, 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 many different minds. It will go to many, many different levels. And everybody in the group and everybody at that level will be able to understand and comprehend and absorb what he's saying at their level. Why? Because the Buddha has the power of speech. If you think that the Buddha must talk to you individually at your level, at your language, and at your intellect, then you limit Lord Buddha's abilities. You limit Lord Buddha's abilities. So you have to open your mind and realize Lord Buddha's abilities and speech is highly, vastly different than our own. So we shouldn't use our own mental limitations of how a Buddha may talk, act, function, do. And we should never ever put the Buddha's actions or what a Buddha can and cannot do according to our culture and our own convention. When we do that, it creates a lot of misunderstanding. Sectarianism. Sectarianism between different schools of Buddhism. Sectarianism within the schools of Buddhism arises from our projections and our conventions and our culture and what we are taught that a Buddha can and cannot do. So if you have a Chinese monk go to Japan, a Japanese monk go to Korea, a Korean monk go to Mongolia, a Mongolian monk go to Vietnam, a Vietnamese monk go to Thailand, a Thai monk going to Laos, a Lao monk going to Tibet, a Tibetan monk going to America, an American monk going to England, an English monk going to Australia, Australian monk going to France, a French monk going back to Brazil. A lot of conflicts. Why? Each country will look at that monk and say, but that's not what I'm used to. What you're teaching, what you're explaining, and the way you pray, the way you chant, the way you look, your dress, your clothes, what you can and cannot do is not what I'm used to. And then the monks themselves, if they're not highly learned or practiced, they will look at the tradition and say, oh, that's wrong. My way is correct. That's not correct. That way is right. You should prostrate this way. You should chant this way. You should meditate this way. You should study this. The Buddha said that. The Buddha didn't say this. The Buddha said this. The Buddha didn't say that. Maybe Buddha said this, but not the way you think. All these conflicts arise. So sectarianism arises from what? People's black hearts? No. People's misguided projections of what they feel something should be or should not be, according to their culture, according to what they're used to, according to the way they're brought up. So therefore, if we always base our understanding of something from our limited perspective, there will be a lot of damage. Hence, the northern schools and the southern schools debate. You hear criticism from the northern schools, you hear criticism from the southern schools of each other, of themselves, of others. Why? Lack of exposure, lack of understanding. But the Buddha didn't have any conflict. All the teachings practiced in the northern and southern schools of Hinayana, Theravadan tradition, there are many beautiful names. Mahayana or Tantrayana, or around here they like to call it Vajrayana, is all stemming from Lord Buddha. Why? They have one common goal, enlightenment. They have different methods, but they have one common goal. Whether it's a Vajrayanist, whether it's a Theravadist, or whether it is a Mahayanist, their common goal is enlightenment. One. Second feature is in all three schools of Buddhism, their common method is meditation. Why? Meditation is habituating the mind to think another way. And therefore, when our meditation is successful, then our daily action and speech and action will be beneficial and less harmful to others and ourselves. Therefore, the elimination of karma and the purification of karma, habituation. Second, that's common in all three schools, which is meditation, the goal of enlightenment. In all three schools, it is well known that Buddha is not a savior. Buddha is not respected as a savior. Buddha is not looked upon as a savior. Buddha is not seen as a savior, but as an example, as a sage, as a teacher, as a being who has achieved what we wish to achieve. Like looking at a pilot and saying, when I grow up, I want to be a pilot. And admiring, respecting, showing courtesy, and learning and training under the pilot to become a pilot. So therefore, in all schools, all traditions of Buddhism, all schools, all yanas, whether it's Theravadan, Mahayana, Vajrayana, the goal is to become a Buddha. The method is by meditation. And to become skilled in meditation, study, learning, teacher relationship, student relationship, time, effort,